Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. If you would like to support this channel, please hit the like button and consider subscribing if you enjoy the content. And now let's start with the first story. It's called Fire to Promotion. I recently met up with my uncle, and while talking about my major, programming computer science, he told me a story of when he got a promotion, his current position, by getting fired. Several years ago, my uncle had a jerk of a boss who would always flaunt his status of being a manager to the lower ranked employees. He would also be critical of them for the smallest things like taking 2 or 3 minutes too long on breaks, talking to your coworker for even a second, or even taking a sip from your water bottle at your desk. My uncle and his coworkers hated this guy, but they loved the job, so they just put up with him for the time being. My uncle told me it was so bad nobody wanted to even interact with him outside of work, and he wasn't invited to any parties or get-togethers either. One day, the boss decides to save money for the company by firing my uncle for poor performance, and tells him the reason why is because they can hire for cheaper. My uncle is a calm and logical man. He's very skilled in programming and has years of experience under his belt by that point in his life, so he knows there would be loads of companies fighting for him. He didn't put up a fight about it and just cleared out his desk that day, and a month later, while looking for other jobs, he was called by the boss, telling him he can get his job back. When he refused, because he had a few offers, the boss revealed that he was in trouble for firing him with the president. My uncle explained to me that he coded the system they used to distribute assignments and organize tasks, which earned him the president's respect for his skill and expertise. So when he found out he was replaced with someone without talent, he was understandably livid, especially since he didn't hear about it till just now. So the boss was forced to offer my uncle his position and a raise to convince him to come back. The boss was then demoted and was even more ostracized for the way he looked down on people in the past. The next story is called Calendar Compliance. This was many years ago. I was working for a small manufacturing shop with an office/retail storefront. The factory ran 24 hours, Monday to Friday, and the storefront was also open on Saturday. Shifts were day, 7 AM to 3 PM, evening, 3 PM to 11 PM, and night, 11 PM to 7 AM. Friday's night shift would hand off to the weekenders on Saturday morning. These were the people that manned the store. It's important to note that the weekenders were responsible for locking the doors, shutting off the lights and setting the alarms. In Canada, we have a bunch of statutory holidays, most of which fall on a Monday, except for one, Canada Day, July 1st, and this holiday falls on whatever day of the week happens to be July 1st. Enter Richard, the new plant manager, who was educated, but with little in the way of experience. To be fair, the owners brought him in because many of the policies and procedures were very old school, and they wanted to modernize a bit to increase profitability. One of his policies was that only he and the store manager were key holders, and only they had access to the alarm codes. Richard would arrive very early on Monday mornings to open up, and the store manager worked Tuesday to Saturday. The schedule for the week was posted, and this year Canada Day was on a Wednesday, and night shift had Wednesday off. The store had Wednesday off as well. So we showed up on Tuesday at 11 PM. On Wednesday at 7 AM, there was nobody to close up. The foreman called Richard repeatedly and finally roused him from his hungover sleep and told him that the crew was on the way out. The facility would be left unlocked and with no alarms. Richard couldn't reach any of the weekenders and had to come all the way in to use his codes to shut the place down. The bonus? Our contract said time and a half for overtime and double time for statutory holidays. We worked 7 of our 8 hours on that day and got paid well for it. The last story is called Security Guard Duty. For some clarity, I'll call the security company the agency, the corporate side I was contracted to the company. The system is basically the same as a temp agency, you just need to go through a week of training to get a guard license. Ages ago, in a state south of Georgia, I'd been working for about a year as a licensed security guard at a site, the company whose employees were attempting to unionize. The company did not want this. The company was a big contract for the agency, so whatever they wanted, they pretty much got. So in addition to normal security duties, we would be answering phones and forwarding calls, and also checking on environmental testing. and taking care of various tasks that were the responsibility of employees, mostly managers of the company, but could be foisted off on security due to our spineless site commander. A few days after I started noticing pro-union literature on tables in the various break rooms and cafeteria, we got another task. Confiscate all union literature we may see on patrols or during our lunch break. We technically were on duty during breaks, so couldn't be off the clock and would need to drop anything and respond to everything. The only reason as part of my job I would be in one of these areas is to eat lunch or on foot patrol inside the facility. We had to carry around a UPC scanner and scan laminated barcodes taped to various places on site that the company wanted to be monitored and secured. We weren't expected to scan every barcode on every patrol as long as we scanned them all over the course of the day, but it was expected that we would scan the vast majority of them on each patrol. Now, granted, I'm getting paid by the company via the agency, who took a 40% cut to provide security, and I'm going to do my job to the best of my abilities. But I'm very pro-union. The employees at this company would have been better off unionizing given the company's practices, both before and after. And frankly, I don't see how union literature is a security matter, especially when the anti-union propaganda was plastered everywhere. And nearly every manager had been a member of a union in the much colder state the company was actually based in, and where all the upward mobility was, because they were unionized. So here's why I maliciously complied. I started eating my lunch in my car. Perfectly fine with them. The radio is on and still on site, and I changed the way I patrolled. Normally, I'd have gone into the various break rooms to eyeball them just in case, even though there wasn't a scan point. But not anymore. No walking around the cafeteria eating area, because no scan point. But I did scan every single barcode on that site every patrol. Every time. Even the out of the way ones that were nearly impossible to find until you worked the site for a while. I kept this up for about a month, until the union, sadly but predictably, failed to unionize the company, given the constant barrage of fearmongering and outright lies. I left for greener pastures shortly after. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and want to support me, please subscribe and hit the like button. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.